all the resources of the community college are available to you as a student. So whether it's career services, resume development, wellness center, access center, as well as the library, research capability, assistance from tutors, things like that. In addition to actually taking classes, once you're a student, all of those, that world of all that opportunity and resources opens up to you.
Welcome to the Path Forward podcast. I'm your host, Augie Girzadas, and I'm excited to bring this version to you today. We actually are on a official road trip, and we're in Chicago, and I'm going to talk about our guest in a few minutes. I just wanted to point out that what I see coming out of this episode is making those on the inside aware of different career opportunities that are available right in their local communities, through their local community colleges, things that turn into good paying jobs with benefits, things that give an opportunity for growth and expansion. And so we're going to be talking about that today with our guest. The podcast is brought to you by U-Turn Health and Second Opportunity. And I am the president of Second Opportunity. And before this job, I had spent 13 years incarcerated. And so what I talk about comes from lived experience. It also talks about what we've created called the Second Opportunity Program, which focuses on tools and knowledge and skills and resources for men and women who are currently incarcerated. And we certainly invite them to have their families participate in the podcast by listening through the traditional podcast network on the outside. What we're going to talk about today has to do with, actually, it's our fourth course, and that's called A Path to Advanced Skills. And my guest today is David Girzadas, and he is the Dean of Advanced Manufacturing at Richard J. Daley College, which is one of the Chicago City colleges. So welcome, Dave.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So I've known Dave a few years. We met, and it ends up that we went to rival high schools, but we put that behind us. And I have known about the work that he's doing at Daley College, and I thought this would be a great message to bring forward. So I'm just going to throw some questions to Dave, and he's going to explain what advanced manufacturing is, what the careers are about, what sort of opportunities they create. So, Dave, I'd like to start by just asking you in a general sense, when you are the Dean of Advanced Manufacturing, what does that mean? What is advanced manufacturing?
Sure. So advanced manufacturing, manufacturing's come a long way over the past 20, 30 years, where I think people's image, if they've worked in manufacturing or know somebody that's worked in manufacturing previously, it had a lot of connotations with it, that maybe it was, and there's a saying, it says dark, dirty, and dangerous, and we're dispelling those myths these days. It's become very automated, computer-driven, so that it's considered smart manufacturing now in a lot of our manufacturing plants across the country. And what that requires is more than just what people may have done in the past that you see in old movies and things, where they're pushing buttons and maybe loading and unloading machines. They need to understand how the equipment works. They need to be able to work in teams. They need to be able to solve problems, as well as understanding how the equipment works and things like that. So and all of those new roles in these smart manufacturing plants requires more knowledge to be able to get those jobs and perform at the levels that employers are looking for. So, they're looking for good employees, first of all, but they're also looking for people that have some background on how to work safely in these new automated environments.
So with the term advanced manufacturing, mm-hmm. I know at the facility here, and we're going to take a tour of the facility later on, so you'll actually see the equipment, and it's really a beautiful place. When was this built or constructed to look like this?
Is about 5 years old, and we've always had a manufacturing program here, but it kind of set within that previous old notion of manufacturing, and it didn't bring in all the concepts and technologies that we needed it to for our local manufacturers. So this enabled us to bring in a lot of new technologies, a lot of new training equipment, and broaden the ability to train for the different roles that our employer partners are looking for. And so it's about 5 years old, 50,000 square feet. It has a high bay space, we call it, with full-size manufacturing equipment, and then 10 labs and classrooms. So you can learn the theory as well as in-depth hands-on training for the skills.
And I'm excited to do that tour with you so you can explain to those that are watching this, here's what this equipment is, here's what it does, here's what you learn, and that type of thing. So what programs specifically do you offer here at Daley College in advanced manufacturing?
Sure. So that's a real common problem. And when we built this center, we redesigned the curriculum at the same time so that we used to have students that would come to us and there's some new words in manufacturing and new terminology that people might not be familiar. There's a term CNC, computer numerical control. So there's companies that have that type of equipment that need people that know how to operate and program and set up those machines. So that's one of our pathways. We call it CNC. It stands for computer numerical control, but those are typically lathes and mills that either cut metal or plastic or wood or maybe more exotic materials. But then there's also welding. In welding, we teach all the welding skills, safety, and then the different technologies. There's MIG, there's TIG, there's stick, then there's cutting processes. And so we have the lab spaces to teach the theory, but then also so you get practice in those. And when you go to a job, to an employer, you have some confidence, you have some ability to know what type of equipment you're looking at so that you can perform as quickly as possible with their equipment that they might have. So those are two, CNC and welding. A third that's very popular, we call it mechatronics. So that's a new word to a lot of people, but that's a marrying of the mechanical and electrical skills, which leads to a lot of different roles. So some companies might do welding, some companies might do CNC, but all companies, whether they're doing those operations or food manufacturing or process, they need maintenance technology people. So that's what this mechatronics pathway does. Gives people good wide exposure to all the different processes, but also skills that a maintenance technician would need. So electrical, all the different sensors, robotics, things like that, as well as maintenance technologies that are used in industry. So that's what we call mechatronics, but you might also call it industrial maintenance technician or industrial maintenance electrician. So that's a third very popular pathway. And all companies are, the workforce is aging, so they're losing those guys that have been at these maintenance companies for years that know the equipment. So the companies are looking for people to come in, come in with some knowledge, but also learn on the job, and then be their in-house expert on their equipment. So those are three real popular pathways. We have two more. We have computer-aided drafting and design. So manufacturing, we think of the processes, the machines, but there's a lot of support operations, and that, computer-aided drafting and design. So it might be drafting and designing equipment for the plant, but it also might be helping out with the product also. So that's another pathway. And then industrial supervision. So all of these plants and manufacturers, as they grow and add people, they need supervisors, and we feel that the best way to be a good supervisor is to understand a little bit about the manufacturing processes and technology that the people that you're supervising.
So that's giving them some technical knowledge to manage and other people that are actually doing the job.
But married with some business classes, some supervision classes, some union labor relations type classes, some HR classes, things like that we've married with the technical classes.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So I know you could probably talk about this for a long time, but I read an article that said that earlier this year they passed an infrastructure bill, they being Congress, and it created all these jobs. And the crux of the article was that almost any of these infrastructure jobs requires welding at some point in the process. Mm-hmm. So have you seen an increase in the demand for welders just in the ones that contact you at the companies that are contacting you at the college?
We have in a number of different ways and even in places that you wouldn't think that they're needed. So those infrastructure bills have impacted our petroleum industry, our food process, and other new technologies also, data centers, as well as manufacturing plants, and all of those, that infrastructure that they're putting in place to grow these new technologies and install these new technologies require, all the skills we're talking about, but welding is one also. And then those infrastructure bills also have a lot of roads, bridges, things like that built into them. So it's not necessarily manufacturing, but using some of the same skills. So, people that come through our welding programs, can look at a breadth of jobs, not just within the manufacturing industry, but also maybe the construction industry, and with the ability to say that they have welding skills.
So it would occur to me that because Chicago City College is, and obviously in Chicago, everybody knows of Chicago City College. I think there are 9 different schools. Is that right?
Seven different city colleges.
Yeah.
Yep.
But so are you contacted? Is the school here contacted by companies that are looking for employees?
All the time. We probably get, one, maybe 2 cold calls a week from new companies, and we think we know them all, but there's always new ones calling all the time looking for people. And in fact, I had an email this morning when I came in, from a community organization saying they got outreached by a local machinists union for a local plant that needs people right away. So they're asking if we could tie them in. So we run job fairs and we invite those companies, but we also get asked all the time.
So those job fairs you're talking about, those are for the benefit of your students, right? The ones that are going through the program or a program or have gone through a program.
Correct. We include all our students. They're open actually to the whole campus, because we don't know, maybe those companies, they might be here primarily for the technical skills that we teach, but we're a community college, so we have people that are studying, all other, degrees that a community college can offer. And so maybe there's something that would fit them too. So it's open to the entire college, but we also publicize with the community, and it's open to the public too for our career job fairs.
Okay, so just so I don't frustrate our audience, because we have people around the country that are watching this. And the point of this is that although we're talking about Chicago and Chicago City Colleges, these type of programs are available throughout the country. So could you spend a couple of minutes and tell us, like, if I'm in Idaho or in Colorado or in Florida and I have interest in some of what you just talked about, how would I go about finding a similar type of program in my area?
Yeah, there's probably a couple different ways. One is, we're a community college, so just being an advocate for the community colleges across the country. Manufacturing programs are very popular at the community colleges, and with those infrastructure bills and other things that are happening with in industry and in industry these days, there's a lot of funding. The colleges are developing their manufacturing programs and building centers like this. So we hear about those all the time. They come and visit to see what we did, to see if they want to do some of the same things and utilize the same types of training programs and equipment that we use. So reach out to your local community college. That's one way to do it. That's probably a good way. You can look that up. But also your workforce boards. Here we call them the American Job Centers. I'm not sure that that's the name across the country, but your local workforce board or job centers have those connections to the training programs that can be funded, with the federal dollars that are out there to support training for programs like this.
So if you're out there watching this and your facility offers the Second Opportunity program through your tablets, one of the things that we provide is that post-release support. So if you need some guidance in finding your local workforce board in someplace around the country, or some sort of community college network where you're releasing to, you can always reach out to us, or you can have your family reach out to us even before you release to start to identify those type of situations that you can then plug into when you release out. So I have to ask you, if I'm thinking from the inside, and I think this is exciting, this really sounds great, and what have you, but when I get out, I'm starting from square one.
Right.
So financially, how am I going? How does that work? Are there scholarships? Are there packages available to help with that?
Yeah. Let me attack that question from a couple different angles. So we have a couple different programs, and when people come to community college, one of the first thing I think of is our credit programs. And credit programs can, range from 4 classes, 7 classes, 10 classes, up to like 20 classes for an associate's degree. So that's typically what a community college will lead up to, an associate's degree, with some stackable certificates, credentials leading up to that. And that will vary by community college. So we have a stackable system like that where you can earn a basic certificate with 4 classes, get some introductory skills to manufacturing. So now these are credit classes, and then that might be a good situation if you want to go through the associate's degree and use that to transfer even to a 4-year after you get a job. So a lot of people take those first 4 classes, get a job with the skills they've learned, and continue to take classes in the evening. So that's, kind of one pathway. Another pathway option that we have is non-credit short-term training classes. So in the pathways that we're talking about, we have a 12-week CNC machining pathway for a machine operator pathway. So people that want to come in, get the skills to be able to get a job as quick as possible, that's a real good way to go. We also have a welding class like that too. So it's 12 weeks long. It's non-credit. It's in the evening, like 5:30 to 9 o'clock. And we've run at different combinations, 1, 2, 3, or 4 nights a week, depending on how much we want to condense it or what people are asking for at the time. And then we currently have scholarships to pay for those programs for students, whether it's our own Richard J. Daley College scholarships or through partners that we have that have gone out, applied for, and received grants to provide these training programs. And so right now is a really good time to get into manufacturing. Those scholarships exist. And, at least I know for the next year, they're out there in place. And, the way things are going, fingers crossed that those will continue as opportunities for students. But right now, there are scholarships to pay for those here at Daley College. And I hear comments from colleges across the country as we work with them in different initiatives.
Great. So and one thing that I picked up, and I imagine those that are watching this picked up too, is that for both of those programs you talked about, CNC and welding, 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's 3 months.
Yeah.
So I could walk out today having limited skills or outdated skills in my case, and I could enroll in a program, and 3 months later I would be able to get a position in welding or get a position running a machine, a CNC machine in a company. That's a quick period of time. I mean, I think that's really appealing to the audience that's watching this.
Yeah. And we have a lot of people that do that. They come in, and manufacturing has traditionally been more open-minded also in terms of backgrounds. And so they, the common answer we get when we talk about that with employers is that it's on a case-by-case basis. So it's a good option for people.
And what I've seen is, because I do work with employers and speak with employers regularly, they've certainly loosened those regulations as this workforce shortage has developed.
Yes.
That, some companies that had an absolute policy have softened that policy. Some companies that had a more lenient policy have actually eliminated the policy because they have to fill positions. And I don't know if you're seeing the same thing here.
Yeah, we hear the same kind of comments. Yeah, exactly.
Great. Yeah. So I know going back, you have at the college here, you have a weekend program that's not specifically doing training, right? But it's involving those that have recently released. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Or those that have been incarcerated to? So
it's
would you
a combination. What we're calling it is people that have been near to or possibly involved with violence to reduce further violence in the community. So the idea is to have a program to utilize all of this investment and capability for our people that have been in those situations, to take them out of the most critical time over the weekend, to have them learning skills that are marketable, as well as developmental things. So we do some additional, in addition to the technical, we do some additional things like computer skills, math skills, employment success skills, and other artistic, and let's say even to the point of open gym activities and things like that, utilizing the full resources of our college. So It's been running for about 3 years now, and we have three cohorts going on, different levels in that program, and it's a year-long program. So, uh, our the students that are in those programs typically they might be have a job during the week, they might not, but then they're coming here and they're dedicated to taking the classes during the weekends. So, and then we celebrate them when they complete. We have a graduation ceremony, and uh, uh, and they're invited to participate in all of our career fairs, employer visits,
Great.
plant visits, visits to trade shows. So that's a really good opportunity to get for somebody to get a feel for manufacturing and all the opportunity available.
And they can then, if they choose to, apply to get into the advanced manufacturing
Yes.
programs at the college.
Yes, absolutely. That's the idea. They're being introduced to the program. They're actually taking some introductory classes to manufacturing, and then they can progress from there.
Great.
Mhm.
Great. Well, I guess I'd like to kind of leave this section of our podcast because, again, we're going to do the tour, but I'd like for you to just take a minute or two and speak to our audience. So basically what we're talking to is men and women that are incarcerated, and some may have a lot of time left to do. Some may be feeling the anxiety of their releasing within the next 60 or 90 days. But I'd like for you to just talk kind of knowing the world of community colleges and maybe just explain that community colleges really are a resource for many different things, and the background doesn't stand in the way of being able to go to the college, to talk to the college, and see what they can help with. Because I know there's community colleges that help people get their GED, for example.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So
Yeah.
if you could just talk from just what your community college can help you with, what they can do for you.
Yeah, that's a good point. That we've been focused on the technical training and things like that, and that might seem overwhelming at first for people, but it might just be a good place to start to get an introduction to your community college and all the different services that they can offer. So here at our college, we have adult ed, which includes GED and ESL programs, and those are free through the college. And there's many locations in our region that we offer remote locations for access to that, as well as here at the college. But once you're a student at our community college, and I know this applies to other communities, all the resources of the community college are available to you as a student. So whether it's career services, resume development, wellness center, access center, as well as the library, research capability, assistance from uh, tutors, things like that. In addition to actually taking classes, once you're a student, all of that world of all that opportunity and resources opens up to you. And so, it pays to ask questions. It pays to ask if those services are offered. And some of these different programs offer things like bus cards and other additional things. We have a food pantry. So depending on the college, it'll offer many of those, maybe not all of them, or some additional ones. But I think that and we have students that come that don't realize that these different services, training programs are considered college or part of or available to them. And so we get comments like that all the time, as well as the fact when they find out that there's scholarships and grants to pay for these programs, their eyes just light up, and then they say, "Oh, can I bring my relative in or my spouse in or whatever it might be?" And so we get those reactions a lot that they're surprised at everything that's available to them.
So when you were mentioning resources, I happened to walk in the wrong door today when I was coming in here, and I walked in and a woman greeted me to, where am I trying to get to? But it's some sort of a childcare that's going on right here at the facility, right?
Yeah, we have a child care center here at the
Yep.
college, and it's not for employees. It's open to the public for people to apply and bring in, and there's a certain capacity to have, so it's not unlimited. But
Right.
it's a certain age range, and I don't use it, so I don't know the exact age range. But they're like preschoolers, and they're here before their parents are dropping them off, and they're going to work. So that's another service that's offered here through the college, and so it's surprising that all the different things that are offered through the college. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think that's where I'd like to leave it. So to say that the community college is a great resource, regardless of where you're going to release to. You can, if you got the Second Opportunity Program, you contact us and we will help you to identify and contact those places. There are many different things that can be explored, and a lot of that will be made available right through the website of the college that's in your area. So I want to thank you for sitting down to talk with me.
You're welcome.
And our next thing to do is we're going to go mobile and walk through the facility, and you can explain to us what all this equipment is and what it does.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you very much. If you've enjoyed this episode, please join us next time as the Path Forward podcast goes mobile. We're going to take a tour of the advanced manufacturing facility to actually show the equipment that's been used to train students to be able to qualify for these types of jobs. And we're going to interview somebody who went through one of these programs after 13 and a half years of incarceration. He has a great story. I hope you'll join us for that. Until then, keep your head down, keep moving for the door.